Hello everyone, my name is Amanda Silver and I am representing the United States Cyber Team for the Lessons Learned presentation following the 2023 Five Eyes Global Economic Summit. In this presentation, topics covered will include the attacks experienced during the conference, evidence that was acquired, any attribution, the attack's impacts, the business recovery efforts, remediation successes, and areas that require improvement. The United Kingdom had hosted the annual Five Eyes Global Economic Summit at a country club near London, England. Each country had a designated cyber team that was responsible for the independent setup of a network for their respective countries. The UK reported a DDoS attack a few weeks prior to the event and later informed the summit members of data exfiltration attempts detected by their intrusion detection system. Once this attack was stopped, additional attacks occurred during the summit, including 2 instances of ransomware attacks, a phishing attack, and a potential insider threat. Prior to the summit, the UK had shared that a distributed denial of service, or DDoS, attack had been detected and anomalous behavior had been observed via the Intrusion Detection System, or IDS. There were reports of high-volume activity shutting down web access to the summit and to the attending nations' government websites. Later, the UK reported data exfiltration attempts. This was the first instance of attacks threatening the summit. Next, a United States employee responded to a phishing email that appeared to be a billing invoice from one of the organization's vendors. However, once the attachment, an Excel document, was opened, it required the document to be updated in order to be accessed. When the user did, it infected the system and encrypted files. The attacker left a text document on the user's desktop that demanded $500 in Bitcoin to retrieve the encryption key and recover the files from the ransomware attack. The latest attack was discovered when users were reporting a Revetton splash screen, indicating their assets had been infected with the Revetton malware. Revetton malware is a form of ransomware first discovered in Europe in 2012 that threatened users by impersonating law enforcement or government officials, claiming the user violated a law and needed to pay a fine. In addition to the impacted devices, maintenance personnel found a USB storage device lying inside near one of the rear panels of the hardware enclosures of the server room. Further inspection of the USB found multiple partitions on the removable storage device, which has currently not provided any information on the source of the attack. However, it is also important to note that the discovery of the USB led to investigation of a potential insider threat. Currently, one member of the web development team is suspected, though there are several issues in determining the exact nature of the attack. The employee in question had their laptop in the open, with login information taped inside for anyone to access. Therefore, it is nearly impossible to determine if it was in fact the user who created the unauthorized account and wrote the letter of designation. Within the letter, it states the employee is quitting immediately due to unknown external actors attempting to extort her. The letter claims the attackers are threatening germ warfare packages that will be delivered to the employee's home if they do not infect IT infrastructure with malware. It also appears the employee had tried to go to management about this issue, but was ignored. Investigation is still ongoing. However, it was critical to report the possibility of an insider threat as soon as possible to mitigate damages. Here is a timeline of those attack events that have occurred over the past month and a half, from the first instance of intrusion as a result of the conference to the current threat at hand. During each of these attacks, evidence was collected to help determine attribution and eradicate the threat. For the DDoS attack, the only evidence that was obtained were limited IDS logs from the UK and the United States Cyber Team's attribution report on the unknown IPs. Further cooperation with Five Eyes partners will be needed to collect more evidence. For the phishing attack, the digital forensics team made a copy of the email and put it in a sandboxed environment to study the attack that was carried out on the HR employee's laptop. From there, they re-engineered the attack, and was able to locate the attacking computer's IP. On one server, the team was able to locate the unlocker and decrypt files, which were then given to the infected HR laptop to recover the files. Chain of custody documents were created, and the original infected laptop was taken for further examination. Logs from Wireshark were also taken as evidence, as well as several screenshots during the recovery process. In the Riveton malware incident, the USB discovered in the server room has been turned over to the malware team for analysis, but only after the digital forensics team created a chain of custody form for it and copied its contents with the hash function to maintain integrity. This chain of custody document and the others created for the impacted devices have been prepared for each set of images, files, and all investigation-related documentation, including backup media. These documents have been stored in a fireproof safe that has been repurposed to serve as an evidence locker. Lastly, evidence that has been collected so far to determine if there is an insider threat include the laptop of the web development team member and the letter of resignation found on the compromised device. Within 5 days, it is anticipated that digital forensics team will have their final report available. Attribution is defined as the process of identifying the source of a cyber attack or exploitation on a network. There are several challenges to consider when looking for the source, especially when considering that most malicious actors are purposely trying to cover their tracks to help obfuscate their actual location of origin. In the case of the DDoS attack and data exfiltration discovered by the UK, the list of IP addresses producing anomalous behavior is annotated in the chart. Based on the United States Cyber Team's findings, each IP address has been assigned a nation of origin and any amplifying information that could be obtained from the Alien Vault Open Threat Exchange. Further discussion between Five Eye partners will need to occur in order to verify and solidify findings to proceed with any necessary legal action. As for the two cases of ransomware attacks, the first attack has already been eradicated and the impacted device removed from the network for further digital forensics. Once any evidence indicating positive attribution is collected, a follow-on report will be generated. As of now, there are only 2 IP addresses in the chart that have been attributed to this attack. The most current attack, however, attribution is still ongoing. The digital investigation team performed a quick look, but the formal investigative report is not yet ready. 2 possible avenues are the employee from the web development team and an unknown insider threat. When further information and the formal report is obtained, a follow-on meeting will occur. Throughout the duration of the summit, there have been several impacts to operations due to these attacks. The time and resources that have pulled many away from the summit itself has significantly degraded the intelligence sharing reports and discussions that were to have been conducted. Secure communication has been compromised due to ransomware attacks found on all participating nations' systems. Although the DDoS attack and the first instance of ransomware were quickly and effectively remediated by the cyber teams, bringing back the impacted server and laptop, the current attack has left 8 additional user laptops infected. It will require a minimum of 3 days for the desktop team to fully restore and function check them. The server where the USB was found and the unauthorized user account created has also been taken offline, degrading services by 35%. Until the digital forensics team can complete their investigation, degradation of services is to be expected, which includes a lack of redundancy and decreased productivity due to the 9 impacted assets. Additionally, more time and resources will be impacted to determine if the network was compliant under FISMA when these attacks occurred. FISMA, or the Federal Information Security Management Act of 2002, requires for compliance to have an information system inventory, risk categorization of assets, a system security plan, implementation of security controls, performance of risk assessments, and certification and accreditation. Penalties for noncompliance include censure by the United States Congress, government hearings, loss of future contracts, reduction or complete elimination of federal funding, and reputational damages. During business recovery, the incident response team did well on each of the attacks in responding in a quick and efficient manner. However, there were delays in their response due to a lack of employee training and lack of appropriate intrusion prevention systems, which will be elaborated on in a later slide. During the first recovery, the team utilized Wireshark and Open Threat exchanges to identify the unknown IP addresses and present an attribution report to the summit. In the second attack, the incident was quickly reported, and the digital forensics team and cyber analysts were able to use Wireshark, Snort, Cryptool2, ORPCrack, and RSecret tools to help analyze the malware. From there, the team was able to discover the unlocker file stored on the attacker's server and use it to decrypt the impacted device. Little to no impacts were made to operations. Lastly, the third attack draws attention to a few deficiencies in the Business Continuity Plan, or BCP. First, there are issues with redundancy and capabilities. For example, 8 laptops were taken off the domain to be analyzed, re-imaged, and checked. There were no backup assets available to be issued to those users to still get work done until their laptops were returned. This not only decreased productivity, but wasted time and money as 3 departments were impacted. Additionally, the server was also taken offline, and although there are backups available, until the server is cleared to return to the production network, there is only 1 server left to allow employees and customers to access critical websites. At a minimum, a warm site should be included in the BCP, which would be hosted on an independent network. Although only 1 server was impacted this time, if a future attack brought both servers down or a natural disaster occurred, the organization has no other redundancy. Consideration should be given to paying a cloud service to provide a hot site for critical components. Lastly, the investigation is still ongoing regarding the letter of resignation found on the unauthorized account, presumably from the web development team member. However, it is still concerning that there are allegations of management not adhering to the Incident Response Plan, or BCP. If found to be true, these issues will need to be corrected to ensure prompt reporting and help mitigate the attack. Before moving to the recommendations for improvements, it is also just as important to highlight things that have went well and the systems that have been brought back to full functionality. For example, the Summit portal page, along with all impacted United States government websites, have been restored. Additionally, out of all the impacted assets throughout these attacks, the organization currently stands at 85% completion for restoration. Within 5 days, it is expected to be at 100%. Lastly, the Revetton malware incident is the first time the digital investigations team has been deployed, and thanks to their quick efforts, led to the successful identification of all infected devices and subsequent removal from the production network. These processes and policies are the ones that the organization should maintain for future incidences. While there were several successes throughout these attacks, there are still several areas of improvement. First, improving the cybersecurity awareness program is one of the most crucial lessons learned. From the first instance of ransomware, this incident could have been completely avoided had the HR representative realized the Excel sheet sent to them was fake and did not upgrade the document as directed. Phishing emails, such as the one sent to this user, are rising globally. While intrusion prevention systems can filter out some of the unwanted traffic, it depends largely on the end user to understand what correct correspondence looks like and to know when to report something. Having both hands-on and presentation-style security awareness program elements must be introduced to maximize effectiveness across the organization. Additionally, in the second attack with the Revetton malware, the web development employee whose laptop was investigated during the incident allegedly had tried to contact management about the extortion attempt, but was ignored. The extent of this claim is still under investigation, but ensuring personnel in management positions are aware of their responsibilities during an incident is imperative to preventing these attacks. The HR manager is an excellent example of how quickly an incident can be resolved when users understand the incident response process and report as soon as possible. Next, implementing better, more secure communication for information sharing at these 5i summits will help prevent these attacks from taking valuable time and resources away. Although source attribution is the goal, threat information sharing in general provides partners with critical information, such as the exploited attack vectors, any attack signatures, and can help eventually tie multiple attacks to a single source. Moving towards the technical areas of improvement, some of these controls, like the UK's IDS system, did work in alerting nations to the DDoS and data exfiltration attempts, but did not proactively prevent it. The United States failed to detect the phishing email, which led to the first instance of ransomware, as well as a failure to alert administrators an unauthorized account was created on a server. And IDS or IPS systems with integrated unified threat management devices or next-generation firewalls that offer anti-DDoS services would have prevented all three attacks. In advanced settings, the impacted server on the Riveton attack could have had its USB ports disabled and sent an alert when it was potentially used to inject malware on the network. Including the disabling of USB ports, other policies that need improvement are those related to persistent operation system patching and vulnerability scanning. While these processes must be conducted on a regular basis to ensure assets are as protected as possible, when proper management of patches and basic operating system security is used, it enhances security by taking updates from manufacturers, developers, and from open threat exchanges to ensure these assets are protected from the latest threats. Lastly, annual auditing and penetration testing must be conducted on these external networks. The summit occurs annually, so there should be no surprises as to when network resources will be needed. Therefore, instead of only one building out the network for the ad hoc configuration for the conference, the security team, in tandem with the desktop operation team, should build out this network prior to deployment and evaluate it. Then, before the conference is underway, Team USA has ensured all proper precautions have been taken, threats assessed, and it will significantly decrease the success of attacks during these critical summits. While the investigation is still ongoing, there is no doubt that the 2023 5i Global Economic Summit was targeted specifically by malicious actors. Each partner nation experienced multiple attacks throughout the duration of the summit that impacted the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data resources critical to the summit. The primary focus needs to be on increasing awareness of the known attack vectors, training employees in the importance of proper incident handling procedures, and familiarity with the business continuity plan to decrease disruption. Continued cooperation between 5i partners with threat intelligence sharing is key to assigning attribution and preventing future attacks. This concludes the Cyber Team's Lessons Learned presentation. For any additional questions, comments, or concerns, please use the contact information listed and we will respond as soon as possible. Thank you for your time and attention.